Tevez sta solo, Tevez all'inizio dell'area, fa fuori tutti, Tevez, si apre la porta, Tevez, gol, da dietro, Pirlo dentro,
Ciao Juventini, welcome back to the All Juve Cast channel, where of course it's all Juve all the time. It's myself, Lucci, and Luca today to cover a defeat at the hands of the mighty Monza. Okay, 1-0 loss, and man, it goes from bad to worse, just like this show is titled. Okay, so the first Serie A victory for Monza. Well, Juve still finding a way to get into the record books, eh? Not the way we wanted, but yeah, there's a lot to tackle. I look at the live chat here. You guys are already fired up. You've been fired up for about 45 minutes already, close to an hour, actually. So we're not going to waste any time, and we're going to get into it. I just want to get some housekeeping out of the way, and that's everybody that's tuning into this on your audio outlets, okay? Get over to YouTube, subscribe to the channel. That's where the daily update videos are. That's where the live watch-alongs are. And all the other good stuff. Okay, so get over there and subscribe. Now, for YouTube, we have Super Chat enabled for those who want to support in that manner. Okay, so yeah, you could donate that way. Or if you want to get yourself some cool gear in the meantime as well, check out Striped Arts Apparel, which is our merch store that is linked to the channel. Now, without further ado, we are going to probably tackle a bit of the news, just some of the headlines, just what's going on. We'll tackle the game, but then get back to that news and kind of unfold and dissect everything, because there is a lot to dissect at the moment. I want to remind everybody that's with us right now to like this video while you're here. And if you're new here, subscribe. All right. So first off, Lucci, how you doing?
Where do I begin, Al? Where should we even start?
Hey.
Just disaster.
I know. It's morning above ground. Luca, how you doing?
I'm all right. Dan, how was your birthday, man? I'm curious. Like, how did it go?
It was good. Thanks for asking. Wow, you're starting off the day nice today. Are you feeling all right?
Well, he's getting ready to make that twist, right? He's getting ready to make that turn. Luca, last time I asked you for a little ditty the next time you're live on that keyboard next to you. Do you have Billy Joel, We Didn't Start the Fire?
Hard no. No. I will record it for you and play it as a favor to you in the future, but not on the live.
Can you play the Titanic
song? I need a
song?
pick-me-up, man, and I asked you for a live, and you don't have it? Simple. Out. Out. Shame. All right. So we look at some of these comments in the live here. Sad seeing the state of my Juventus. Not a Juventus we're accustomed to seeing. Yet again, we see images of the players going to apologize to the Curva. We have Marco Tardelli, obviously ex-Juve legend, saying that he does not agree with the players going out there and needing to apologize to the fans. We have others, like myself, saying that it should be everybody going and apologizing to the fans for this standard that is so far below that we've set here. But again, to each their own. As far as the news headlines go, after the match, we were looking at a scenario like, is Max going to get axed immediately? There's some light rumors circulating that if anything were to go down, it was going to be something as an intern like Montero. So Montero was one. Massimo Carrera was another. Then, of course, there was the wild notion that there could be something in the works with Roberto Mancini. Okay. And then today, you get a lot of the same, which is it probably isn't going to change, and that there may not be a change. Arriva Bene speaking in terms of a bloodbath. Should Allegri be fired? What necessarily does he mean by bloodbath? Well, Marco Tardelli even got into it today with his words that came out this morning, and that's basically that if they get rid of Allegri, it basically ties everybody associated to the decision of bringing him back, that they would essentially have to face the music as well. But that's something we've all been talking about too, and maybe that should happen. So a lot to tackle. Of course, we're going to zip through this game because there's not a hell of a lot to talk about, okay? So we are going to zip through this one. We're going to go like this. Basically, projected lineup was a 4-3-3 heading into this one. We had Perin, DeScilio, Bremer, Gatti, Danilo, McKennie, Paredes, Moretti in the middle with Di Maria, Vlahovic, Kostic. Di Maria's in the lineup for Max. All is well. All is going to be sorted out, right? No, things weren't fixed with Di Maria in there, were they? No. Starts off with Monza actually getting some good pressure in the final third. A volley from the youngster Rovella himself going wide. Rovella had himself a game, by the way, everybody. So if there's a positive, it's that he's our property still. Back post free header for Itzo. He ends up making a mess of it. Luckily for us, he sucks. Awful angle attempt from Vlahovic. Vlahovic gets a chip ball over the top. He decides to shoot it from an awful angle, is what it is. Churia with a rip that dips just after Perin's goal, but Perin seemed to be there. Look, the majority of this is Monza actually outclassing us and outplaying us in the first half until Di Maria gets a red card. Now, we're going to get into the Di Maria red card. For me, it's absolutely inexcusable. That moment just cannot happen. We're going to break that thing down a little more because there was theories that Di Maria has basically quit on Allegri. But we're going to tackle all that after. Let's rip through the rest of this, okay? Second half, Monza gets a good chance that they flub wide, and this was from point blank on a deflection from a cross in. For us, we finally get a nice passing sequence from McKennie, who in my opinion didn't do much outside of two good crosses. This one to Moretti. Moretti, unfortunately, mishits it, easily blocked, goes out. Juve gets a free kick, a great ball in from Paredes. Danilo with one of the most unorthodox headers I've ever seen in my life because he bends right over almost to his kneecaps to try and head this thing at goal. Maybe at that point you use your feet, whatever. That's the way things are going for us.
Brazilians.
Churia again with a cross in, this time slammed home. 1-0 Monza. I didn't feel we were even going to get enough opportunities to get in there and find one. We had one more, and again, it was from a run from McKennie, a good move, cross in, free header for Keane, and he does the one thing, slam those headers low, or at least to a side, but try and get them downwards, right at the keeper. That's it for us. 1-0 Monza. Something shocking. I didn't believe would happen. I spent the next 2 hours walking around my home waiting that I was just in this weird dream and I would finally wake up and then the game would actually take place. No such luck. Luca, start off with your overall, kind of thoughts and view on this match. Then we're going to get Lucci's thoughts on this thing overall before we get into all this news.
Al's wife yesterday, by the way, guys, gave us all a call in the AGC because she was worried for our gaffer. She's like, he's just spaced out, walking in circles. I think he had a psychotic break at one point, but we're not going to get into that.
You guys remember those memes from Narcos and whatnot? That was me. I just went to the field behind my house. I got my hands in the pockets. I'm just walking around. Like, what's happening here? Where am I?
Look, I didn't watch the game live. I was out of the house. But when I came back home and was prepped to put it back on, it was very difficult to hit the play button. Like knowing what was coming was really difficult. So rather than watching the entire game, I clicked watch highlights. And like Al said, it was basically just Monza until like the last play from Keane, which, by the way, awful for what is supposed to be a starting striker, apparently, by his standards. But I have no words. I really have no words. Even with 10 men, we should be beating Monza. I've seen 10 men beat better teams. And honestly, this was absolutely inexcusable. Even with 11 men, like, why didn't we have 2 goals in the first 20 minutes? There's no more excuses. I'm running out of reasons. And glass half full arguments. I'm tired of it. There's nothing left to be said. Act, do something, because at this point, it's just going to spiral out of control.
Yeah. It's an interesting your choice of words there, that even with 10 men, Marquisio this morning essentially said the same thing. Even with 10 men, if you know how to play, you can potentially make something happen in that game. But he's literally said this Juve does not know how to play together. Lucci, your thoughts overall on this one? I mean, we joked. I saw your tweet. You laughed about it because, you're like, well, what if we don't? I'm like, it's Monza, man. And you're like, well, and I hate it when you're right. Believe me.
Everyone does. I know.
Even
I
a
know.
broken
I hate being right in this case.
Twice a day.
Broken clock.
I'll say this. We came out of the gate with the wrong mentality already. We were sitting back. After 90 minutes, we had 2 shots on target against Monza. That's unacceptable. It's Monza. Like, how is that? Like, how do you not triple that? Shoot from anywhere. Like, just put the ball to the net, man. Do something. Di Maria obviously didn't help the case, but even with the first 30 minutes, he wasn't playing. Like, he didn't do anything. Vlahovic, poor guy, man. Like, we talk about him not getting any better and growing. The guy's got no service. He's got no plan. Allegri doesn't help him out because they got nothing, no plan, no system, no ideas. He's just, here, take the ball and try to take on 4 defenders and turn and do something. Like, how is that going to help him succeed? How is that going to help the team succeed altogether? Yeah. And like we discussed on the pregame yesterday, like the starting 11 was more than good enough to beat this team. There's no excuses. And I saw Sam's comment in here, seeing Rovella at Monza, but McKennie sums up the status of the club. So true, man. Rovella was probably the best player on the pitch yesterday.
So
hold on. Can I touch on that for a second?
Sure.
Quick.
Go for
let's go.
Rovella is a talented player. We know that. But even with Max, he wasn't looking that great. I think right now, we can't start nitpicking on individual players at Juventus because everyone looks like shit. Everybody.
Yes.
Even our best players look like shit. So
you're right.
You're going to start saying, why do we have McKennie or why do we have
McKennie sucks, so that doesn't help his case.
So
he still created 2 crosses that should have been scored. I'm not going to start saying he's good, but the fact that we can't put those away just sums up the entire team. So I'm not going to start individually picking on people.
I want to get to this comment, which is actually Montalivo, who played under Allegri. And he says there are 2 types of coaches. One who gives you all the instructions by heart before you enter the field. You know in advance what you have to do, and you don't need to think too much. And then he continues. Then there is the likes of Allegri, who just gives you the general idea of the match and leaves you to do the rest.
Yep. Clearly, that's the case.
It's been clear. That's been clear, and that's been evident. And we've been saying now for a little period of time here that maybe, just maybe, back then we didn't give enough of those players that were around his first tenure enough credit. And my thoughts over the past couple of weeks I've been saying is that, you know what, maybe, just maybe, it was those guys at that time, and it was the right timing for Max because they just needed a man manager. They had chemistry, they gelled together, they knew what they had to do, and they could get it done. Now we don't need a man manager or a planner or a guy that simulates schedules in his head. We don't need that. We need the actual leadership and direction. You watch this team, it's aimless for me. If I look at the Monza match, look, and here's another thing that everybody that wants to talk about quality of players, because it still comes up, give that a rest. Di Maria was in there, nothing changed. Rovella is the one we sent to Monza, and he bossed us in the middle of the pitch.
Yep.
That should tell you it's far beyond the quality of a player that we're dealing with here with this Juventus. There are much bigger issues at the helm here. And number one, it has to start with the coach. Are there more than that as an issue? Absolutely. Sure. That's just one of the problems. But that problem is affecting results. Results will affect finances. Finances are going to affect everything. So you have to start there. They have to right this ship. How much longer do you go? You have to stop the bleeding. Right now, we're just bleeding. bleeding out. There are so many problems. Everybody's saying it's just too overwhelming to do this. You get the words of Arriva Benez. Now we're going to get into this news. I mean, you look at the ratings, it's shocking. Like, I mean, I think our man of the match got 5.5.
Perin, 5.5.
Perin with a 5.5. I actually thought Miretti was hard done by on his rating because I think he actually put in work. He was probably one of the few that I saw with at least some effort and work rate that was acceptable. Danilo's work rate was acceptable. Outside of that, Vlahovic's work rate, his work rate was acceptable. He's just getting nothing. He's getting nothing to work with. He's getting scraps. McKennie, I'm shocked, got as many minutes as he did. I would have probably put Fagioli in there.
And then they took off Miretti for Fagioli.
Yeah, outside of 2 crosses there, McKennie was a horror show in the middle of the park for me, and that's against Monza. So there's a lot to be done. But again, strategically, tactically, lacking so much.
But
go ahead.
Listen, I'm not hating on Paredes because he's still new, he's still learning. But like, what has he done to stand out to spend that kind of money on him, that wage, and instead of letting? That's what I'm getting at. Like, why would you make that move when we have defensive problems to look at, or no depth up top? Like,
well, here's the thing, Lucci, and this is another kind of something else that I'm looking at in terms of Max. In his mind, it's a player quality thing. He is wrong. These guys, he's banking on guys that are just going to sort everything out for him. That's not going to happen.
Right.
So in his mind, loaning out Rovella, bringing in Paredes is a step up at that position, and that now all of a sudden we're going to see these long passes and these game-breaking balls that are just going to send guys. It's not happening. There's so much else lacking. But in his mind, that's how it works. The higher the quality, whatever, the less he almost has to do. I literally feel we have a manager, we're paying almost 10 mil a season to say, go play.
Oh, no.
Get out there and go play.
God damn it. Not this guy again.
I felt this show was lacking and had less than enough talent, so I decided to jump in.
It just got a whole lot uglier, that's for
Basically,
sure.
we just got zero memes and a lot of attitude added to this.
Ruthless in the morning here, Luke.
God damn it. Yeah, this show was a little bit below par today, so like yesterday's game, so I figured I'd jump in.
And
because you're
kind of with my point on what I was going with Lucci. Lucci is basically saying, why make that move and spend that money? Are you agreeing with what I'm saying, that basically in his mind it's a quality thing and he thinks everything's going to be sorted, and his words kind of match that?
Okay, hindsight's 2020. Going back a month and a half ago, everyone's like, okay, let's let Max get his guys and see what happens. A lot of people are right. A couple guys down here were saying that it might not work. Hindsight's 2020, but you had to give Max his guys. You had to.
His guys have not given him anything,
and things are not working out. But
this is how we determine it, though. I mean, any coach you get, you have to give him his guys. I agree with that.
You have to. It's only logical. Give him his guys. Unfortunately, I don't think Paredes is as terrible as people are making him out.
No, but everyone looks like shit right now.
I'm not saying he's been terrible, but you're paying him. You paid that much money, and you're paying him $7 million in wages, and you expect more from a player making that kind of money.
He's only played 3 games, 4
but
games.
But here's the thing, though.
How much time do we give guys?
He already
is
started
he
playing.
The only guy we're expecting more out of? No. This is a straight across thing. So I'm not going to even just rag solely on Paredes. I mean, if you go across the line, you're going to find very few players that we can say don't need to step it up. And when you have this goes back. This is the same thing I said in 2018-19 when Max got fired the first time. I said, when you have that many players underperforming and not progressing, it is a bigger picture. It is the problem of the managers, not a problem of the players when you have that many underperforming. And I stand behind that. When you have that many guys that aren't cutting it, it's on the coach.
I've been a big McKennie backer last season, when up to before his injury, but you have to make judgments on the facts that you have at hand as you go through life. Like, it's okay to change opinions on things. And this goes out to a lot of kids out there. It's okay to change opinions on facts. McKennie should not be on the field.
Yeah.
He should not. Like he
been
has not
brutal.
improved one bit. And continuing to play him, I don't get it. Like
They have nobody else.
Who called that like a year
Here's
ago?
my thing, though.
Oh, stop it, Daniel. He
Yeah,
was
but
fine last year.
Guys, hey, rein it in. Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. It's not going to change even with a personnel change. Yeah, there you go.
What is
It ain't going to change. If you put another player in there, he's still going to go in there with no ideas.
The thing with Paredes that bugs me is that Max asked for him specifically. Max wanted him. It had to be him. And now, like, it's just like it hasn't made a difference at all. And you can blame everyone. You can blame the whole team. You can blame Max for sure. But like, why would you bring in someone?
For the longest time, we blamed the midfield for not being good enough.
Yeah.
And we were that's why we were sending long balls. Finally, we get decent transfers within the midfield. We have decent quality, and we're still surpassing them. We're just going over their heads. So what's changed? Nothing.
Yes.
So Jay is saying all our players, our professional players, should perform better no matter what kind of coach we have. It doesn't quite work like that in sports. And if you've played at a certain level, you'll understand that that's not quite how it works. Because you have to put it together. The guys, if there's no set structure, if there's no set idea or shared ideas, guys just easily, if you have too many guys freewheeling, how do you put that together? How do you build chemistry? You're hoping to just catch lightning in a bottle at that point.
I think people look at difficult. Some teams. Some people look at some teams like, oh, they're just freewheeling out there. No. They have systems and structure. It looks like everyone's all loose and like through the midfield, but it's very, very structured, which we are the exact opposite.
Yeah, it's tough here. I mean, when I say no matter who the coach is, certain things shouldn't be sacrificed. That's work rate, ethic, all that, like that drive, that fight, that should never change. But a coach has to put it together with the players he has. If in Max's own words, 6 months. 6 months it should take to get your ideas across. Well, you're at 15. You're 15. I want to get to the Di Maria red card, okay? Because this should not be an excuse, in my opinion. Should not be an excuse for this match because everybody thought, now Allegri's going to get bailed out by a red card from Di Maria. Did Di Maria quit on Max Allegri? Is that why that red card happened? That came up a lot in the watch along, that this team has given up. We'll get to the team and say, but Di Maria has given up too. That's why he took that red card. I don't think so. And just so everybody kind of wants to go with this, Di Maria in his entire career has 5 reds and 4 double yellows. He's not a stranger to incidents like that and getting fired up. So the Argentine has had instances of this happening. One time he got himself sent out double yellow on grabbing a referee, stomping on a guy's foot off the sideline, off the field of play, straight red. He's no stranger to these moments. So I don't think it actually has anything to do with the Max thing. Do any of you think that Di Maria has given up on Allegri? And where do you guys stand as far as the team? Do you think the players have given up on him and that's why we saw what we saw against Monza? We'll start this one with Ant.
What's with the Skanga out, by the way? Like, what the... Anyways. Now, I've taken a couple reds like that in my day. You know, like you just kind of have like a moment, right, where you just like, what are you doing? Get off me. I just watched it. I actually missed that part of the game, so I just watched it while I was waiting in the green room. That's a red card. Were people suggesting that it wasn't?
That's a red card. Some were suggesting just a yellow. That's a red.
I thought somebody were saying, I'm like, you can't, like, you got him right in the sternum. Like, that's a red card. And that usually happens when people are tired or frustrated. So 40th minute, he could have been tired. Our conditioning stinks. So maybe, but that I would say, that is from a frustrated player. Cause I don't think that opponent was like, they weren't clipping his heels for 40 minutes. I don't think they were all over him or there wasn't any sort of continuous fouls on him. So That's just him losing his head. South Americans can be a little.
So Di Maria is
Sometimes.
frustrated overall. The other thing to
It can be.
consider is Itzo knows how to get in your head. Smart defender. Listen, Di Maria has
sucks.
played 680 matches. He's 34 years old. It is inexcusable any way you try to defend it to me. If anything, I would have expected it out of Miretti. And another problem with this match against Monza that I said is that not because of Miretti's personality, I'm just saying a youngster in general, right? I would expect a reaction like that from a 19 to 22-year-old or something. But Di Maria at 34, this is another problem I had with Monza. Miretti was the example for me in terms of work rate, ethic, everything he was doing, movement off the ball, trying to make things happen. We can't go out game in, game out, having a 19-year-old as the example. That just shows you how bad it's been for us. A 19-year-old should not be the example for the rest of them.
For me, that was all frustration.
I'm sorry, but Di Maria, I will not excuse it, regardless if it's Itzo and that's his game and everything. He can't do that. He absolutely cannot do it. Lucci and Luca will touch on, do you think the players have given up on Max?
Their play looks like it. It's hard to argue. Yeah, it's hard to argue that they're not. Like,
it's also hard to argue based on how we've played that that's just not the same as everything we've seen, and they haven't given up on. Like, as sad as it is, we've been that bad straight through.
We could have, but it's like you're Salernitana, Sampdoria, Monza. Like, even with a coach of my like if I'm the coach, I'd still expect better results out there. Like, guys, this team's shit. Go score some goals. Like, what's going on? Like, it's not like you're lacking any talent. You have Di Maria, you have Vlahovic, you have players that can score. Kostic that capable. To get 2 shots on target in 96 minutes,
wild. Even with 9 guys,
we barely hit double-digit attempts. Monza had 17 attempts.
My God.
And like, what, 4 or 5 big chances? Juve had 1 big chance. That's just
not good.
Any way you slice it, guys, this is crazy. It's getting to a low, and this is what I fear. And right before we hit Luca, my fear is that you continue on, you're going to get to a point where it's going to be so hard for anybody to step in and repair. And right now you're at a juncture in the season where you could still make something happen. So you're battling this scenario where, okay, you're going to have to pay this much to move on a manager. We're bleeding out absolutely everywhere right now. If we continue, it's going to cost us how much financially? That's an unknown. Is it going to turn around? Everybody's battling. Can he turn it around? It's so far gone for me. I can't see Max turning this thing around right now.
I disagree with that. I disagree with a point that you made. I'd like to get Luca's opinion on it. If another coach comes in today, don't we have enough talent to turn the ship around, regardless of who the coach is?
Yes.
If they bring in some sort of system, do you think it has to get better? I'd like to see Luca answer that one.
And honestly, like, you're at that point where you really cannot get worse. We just lost to the last place team. What is worse? Honestly, I mean, yes, there probably is worse, but it comes down to like,
City of C is worse.
Right now, it is really a mentality thing. Like, these guys are in a space where they need a refreshment. They go into the locker room and they see this plan being drawn up, and they're like, "Oh, this shit again."
Being drawn up. There's no board.
Okay.
There's a board, but there's just like the names of our players on it. That's it. It's just the starting lineup. That's all it is. We've seen it in the All or Nothing.
Anywho,
look,
listen.
There's not much.
The problem is, it's not a loss to Monza. It's a loss to Monza. It's players dejected, players soulless. It's so much more than just the results. That's why I fear it's beyond repair for Max because of the point it's gotten to. Marquisio, in his words today, speaks to how everything, this is exactly what I said, everything coming out of the statements is disjointed from one another, from top to bottom, players, management, coach, they're all separate in what they say, and nobody's on the same page, and it shows on the pitch. And for Marquisio, I'm with him. I believe the exact same thing. I think it's too far gone. Marquisio, in his own words, I would make a change, and I'm with him. I would start at the coach. Now, in Arriva Bene's words, as we said, we were going to get to all the news. There would be a bloodbath. We laughed at the notion of a bloodbath. Well,
No idea what that
Marco
means.
Tardelli, another Juve legend, ex-Juve legend, said that essentially what he's entailing, what he's speaking to is that the people responsible for Max's return, which has been an epic failure, we're going to have to face the music. And that's what he means by a bloodbath. I don't necessarily believe it needs to be a full-scale bloodbath. If Allegri goes, you can still maneuver without making it a full-scale change. I've painted a scenario where Agnelli, if you stay, it's business. Okay, let someone else deal with the football handlings. Stick to the business. Okay, and as far as Arriva Bene, Cherubina, Arriva Bene tied himself to the Allegri thing, which makes no sense because he was already in place before Arriva Bene had even come in. So it's kind of that whole thing.
It was almost the same month. It was really close together.
Yeah. So, but it's like Allegri was already a done deal. So that whole thing's kind of strange for me. It's very, very bizarre in terms of the financials. 36 million euros to move on from Allegri if they fire him. I wouldn't even fire him. I would just say you're not the coach and step him to the side and bring someone else in. That way you're not paying out front, because if he does, by some chance, somebody doesn't still wants to hire him after this shit show, they can do so, and then at least we don't have to pay the rest of those funds out if he takes a contract elsewhere. So I wouldn't fire him directly and pay the full upfront money. I would still just say, hey, you're not the manager, and I would move on. It's at a point I don't see him being able to repair it.
We had some internal discussions on our team about bringing in Montero, and we're like, a lot of us were like, I don't know about that one. But if you're going to do your plan, let's just say they do your plan where you step him to the side, he makes sense because he's already on the payroll. He's already, right?
Yeah. And Rick Ozzie coming in here saying it's like going back to your ex-girlfriend for a second time. It just doesn't
work.
Rick
is 100% correct. Yeah, for a little while, it's
good. It's fun.
Some good.
Long term, Lucci.
So 36 million euros if they get rid of him immediately to pay. Now, in terms of what could potentially happen, if we don't make Champions League, what are the losses? The losses are about 50 to 60 million euros right up front, plus revenue from your 3 home matches that you would lose not playing in the Champions League. And then stars. Are you going to start losing stars? Do you guys believe Vlahovic would stay in a scenario like that? Absolutely not. Vlahovic is going to move on. Potentially Bremer would want to go play elsewhere. Like it's so much deeper than just this 36 million euro that people are hanging on that it would cost the club to let go of Allegri. So for me, I'm with Marquisio.
Yeah, it's
get the fuck out.
Again, you got to put your accounting hat on to say we have the Calcio Finanza all over our ass for any sort of financial fair play, right? I don't think it's as simple as we'll just eat the 36 million. For us, it is, but I don't think it's that simple.
You're not eating 36 million if you do what I say and you let it go. Then it becomes almost like you have a player's salary, which we've done before. Thank you, J Medical, that you're eating annually. So it becomes that 9 million that you're eating a year without letting them go completely and paying it up front. I would do it that way.
You keep them on the books and just hire another
Keep
coach.
them on the books so it's only an annual pay. And then if he gets a contract somewhere else, you're automatically broken free of it.
It's like the Bobby Bonilla deal. If you don't know about the Bobby Bonilla deal, Google it.
So
He's been
that's
getting paid
that's
$1 million
my thought.
every
Guys,
year since
we got to get
2000.
into so Storm the Barn. If you guys have Storm the Barn,
Happy
start
video.
fighting in. I want to get into some of the options that were mentioned post-match in this aftermath of this.
Benia?
You've got Skango. Now Skango going.
How do I
What?
spell Benny Benia?
Oh, man.
It's Bobby.
Bobby.
Oh, sorry.
Never
Okay.
mind, Luca.
So let's get into this. Montero as an intern. So, Georg, come on.
Take it easy.
So,
What do you say?
Montero as an intern. Yes, no, how come? Luca. Because Lucci and I spoke to this one yesterday. So we're going to get Luca, then we're going to get Anthony's thoughts. So Montero as an intern coming in.
Just a quick question before I even follow that. How long has he been with the team? Do we know?
Dude, he literally got hired like 2 months ago.
Right. Okay. So it wasn't before this season. It was this season. I just want to make
Yeah.
Yeah.
Reminder, everybody, like the video too while you're here before Luca puts together this answer.
Yeah, quick before you regret your decision, like the video. Look, we all had our doubts with Pirlo, and this is the only real reference I could use because ex-player coming in with very little experience. You know what? Right now, the only way is up again. Like we're so in the shits. Like you can only go upwards from here. And I think a guy like Montero, who has lived, breathed, sweat, and basically bled this team's colors, I think like you can't do any worse. I think he would bring in a no-nonsense attitude, and maybe tactically and long-term it wouldn't be perfect, but shit, he would definitely wake up. Who is this guy? There's no name.
I
Like,
don't know.
I don't know.
Already.
It's cool though.
don't
It's
put a
good.
I like him
name.
already.
Good.
Be a man. Put your damn name and show us your balls.
Take it
Okay,
easy,
take it
Skango.
easy.
Hey, simmer down.
Yeah.
Simmer down.
Anywho,
Video again, guys.
Anyways, okay, so Luca is kind of tying Montero to
It
what he
can't
was
be
known
worse,
for.
Al. It can't be worse. He would wake up the locker room. I think he would. He looks like the type of guy who would slap everybody. Like if there's someone who's going to beat up our players,
Mhm.
it might be him.
man,
Anthony Montero as an intern option coming in.
Yeah. So some players don't react to being slapped in the face. I did. I was the kind of player who I liked coaches screaming in my face,
That's why
kicking
your
me in the
nickname
ass.
is Slappy.
But some players aren't like that, right? They don't respond well to that. Being a former player means nothing in the coaching world for the club. You can have a coach up there holding his old jersey up and being like, "Look what I did," and the players will be like, "Who's this guy? Like, I have no idea who you are." So that really doesn't. I don't think that really helps him. Right now, he's the U19 coach, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah.
The only way I would do that is for Al's point, because you're not bringing in more salary. He's already on the books, and then someone put in here about you still have money for the January window. That is the only reason why I'd do it. I would not make him a long-term coach because I don't even know if he's a good coach. If he's only been coaching for a couple months, you know,
19, man.
to disagree with Luca, it can get worse.
How?
Should have kept
Please
Pirlo.
explain how it could.
I'm just
So,
saying.
Lucci and
it could get worse.
I think we're going to be on the same page with the Montero thing because we kind of talked a bit about it in the Match Day Live. And for me, it wasn't fair what we did to Pirlo, and this would be extremely unfair to Montero. We don't know anything about what he even wants to achieve on the field as far as play. Would he motivate the players? Maybe, but maybe not. Some of these guys, like I don't know. I would think based on his history, the type of player he was, that he would, but I don't know. It's not fair to him. The guy just got hired as a U19 coach to all of a sudden have to come in here and take over this mess for a
by the way,
first-time
Champions League.
coach.
Make
as an
Champions
intern?
League get out of the group.
Not going to do it. Not going to do it. In terms of Landucci, real quick, everybody, Landucci as an intern, for me, he's too tied to what we've got going on
He's
right
Max's
now. If you're
brother.
going to make a change, clean slate. Everybody agree on that?
Yeah.
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 Sure, but you can't do that. You can't just remove the whole staff in November.
Why
Well,
not?
if you bring in a new manager, they usually have
usually
their
do that.
staff.
Right.
They usually
I
have their
get that,
staff.
but
He's Max's
fair,
assistant,
feasible.
man.
He was
If
Max's
you
best man at
think
his
he
wedding.
would stay on as assistant for the new coach, you're wrong. He wouldn't.
100%.
But I
He
don't
would
think
choose to
I know-
stay, but there's no way that he would stay.
Don't
Like
tell
he
him.
I
would
don't
be
think
gone.
it typically and someone can correct me wrong. I know the group here can look it up pretty quick.
Correct.
If a manager's replaced mid-season, it's not like his whole assistants leave with him. They
Not
should.
always, but again, it becomes on their availability. A manager
Right.
usually has his guys. He will try to bring them with him. So
in the off season, like
we're
if he gets
talking
hired,
about
but mid-season,
Landucci here, though. We're not talking everybody else beyond that.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
Landucci too closely tied to what's going on here right now.
Insane bushel apples.
Massimo Carrera was brought up as an intern option. For those of you who don't remember, he was one of Conte's assistants. And when Conte had to face the 10-month ban, Massimo Carrera was the one who stepped in. That was the interim caretaker for Juve during that 2012 season. He also at one point coached one of the youth sides for Juventus and whatnot. But Massimo Carrera had a good showing in
Russia.
Where was it? I believe Russia.
I think it was
Spartak.
Russia. Yeah, I think
And then
so.
other than that, his work
with
has been
Athens.
pretty unstable. And I mean, Carrera had a bad showing for Bari. He was fired in 2 months. That's, I think, the last we've seen of Massimo Carrera. But he was good in Spartak, and he led them to a championship. And he was actually let go contrary to what all the fan base wanted. So, but for me, that's a no as well. Carrera's got a 50-50 here from Avocado 89. 50-50.
Is that Omer?
Hell of a handle there, Avocado 89.
Is that Omer?
No,
Nothing wrong with avocados, but
No,
very good for you. I don't know. Massimo Carrera, for me, that's a no. That's a no. I think if you're going to do it, you have to be sure. And I don't like this intern thing too, because it feels like we're throwing away the rest of the season. I think it should be something with a little bit more. It doesn't have to be the guy for the next 5-6 years, but it has to be somebody for at least 2 years, in my personal opinion.
There's no top coach that's going to come take over a team mid-season.
You then have the rumors that broke out of Mancini. Hypothetically, because I don't see it actually happening. Hypothetically, if Roberto Mancini could come, would you make that move, Anthony?
No, he didn't. His tenure is like he was with Man City. Like as a club coach, he was, I don't know. He was up and down like a roller coaster. I'd say no. I'd say no to Mancini.
You are wrong.
Okay.
Why?
What do you mean?
Explain.
I don't know. I don't remember him. I don't.
I'd say
no.
so. Lucci.
He won with City. He was okay with Inter. Like he's done well with Italy until recent, and that.
Okay, so there's two international teams.
What about all the failures? Like, are you gonna...
Where else would he? Where else is he coached Inter twice?
Did he not? For me, it's a no. I would say no.
Yeah, same.
Listen, he's better than Allegri. So
here's the thing for me and Mancini. When I look at his most recent piece of work, I see an Azzurri side that arguably might have been worse off than this Juve side. In terms of no confidence, no direction, no ideas, no clue where they were going to go from there. And the instant stimulus was massive. Did it get stale now with goals and stuff like that? Sure. But the instant stimulus for 2 years was massive, what he got out of that team.
Yep.
2 years at Juve would be just fine and then move on to the next route. If Mancini would come in, I would actually do it. He's got that attitude that he doesn't care about the name on the back of the shirt. And I like that. I like that about him. In terms of people that fear about his offensive prowess. Oh, look what he did to Ciro Immobile. Ciro Immobile was dog shit before Mancini came along when it comes to Italy. Okay.
Italy.
Ciro Immobile always did nothing for Italy. Insigne did nothing for Italy. He wasn't even playing for Italy before Mancini came around because he couldn't even get into the cut, and that's always lacking forwards. So don't give me this thing that Mancini all of a sudden had Italy not being able to score goals. Historically, Italy didn't score a ton of goals. It's just the instant stimulus he brought and that
Well, budget
complete
did.
shift in mindset and belief is why I would do it.
He scored goals.
Thanks, Tony.
Bunch of
Luca,
scored goals.
Mancini for you, yes or no?
No. I think he's better than Allegri right now. I think obviously almost anything is better. But that said, like I have my reservations. I told you mine, Al, and Mike just gave a comment that is how I feel about Mancini. So if you want to highlight that, that's the only thing I would be worried about. Like, sure, he'd probably be able to get a lot out of what is probably a very, very crap team right now. But then when it comes time to put your guys out to pasture and get rid of them, like Cuadrado and Sandro, he might stick with them for all we know. So I'm hesitant with his ability to switch things around.
Lucci's such
Lucci
a
in the
polite
back.
student here.
Lucci in the back, please.
Luca. So yes, or I guess this would be more to Mike. Yes, he played Insigne and Immobile. Tell me what options he had, my friend. Chiesa's been out forever. Who else are you gonna play?
Well, unfortunately, my memory is not good enough to remember what the bench was
Well,
like. at the
okay,
beginning,
so
Daniel.
shut your mouth, all right, bud.
But the fact that we didn't qualify
Sure.
for the World Cup with that team of players is inexcusable. So I don't want to go into it.
That team should not have won Euros. Look at it on paper,
And it should not have not qualified for the World Cup.
Of course.
Where's your argument?
But then you're missing. How many players were you missing in a short span of time? No Spinazzola, no Chiesa, blah blah blah.
That's two players.
Hey,
He's
to be
arguing
fair,
again.
they
Simmer down,
had
please.
to score 1 out of like 3 PKs to get into the World Cup,
And
man.
that's
That's
not
not
the coach.
really. You shouldn't rely on PKs, but honestly, it's pretty stupid.
One disaster at a time, all right? Can we just focus on one disaster at a time?
Fair.
Yeah.
Storm the
Today's
barn,
Juventus.
Jeremiah. Your thoughts as Tudor coming in as an interim? If works out well, then extend him. If doesn't work out, get Deschamps after the World Cup or Mancini. And so I'm just going to say this. Deschamps is not the right guy right now in where we're at for me. He's not the turnaround guy. Mancini would be a turnaround guy. Tudor, I like him, and it intrigues me, to be honest, thinking about Tudor coming in. And he's highly regarded by management, according to Nicola Skira. Luca wants to start on this one. We're going to go to Anthony.
Tudor is...
Go ahead, Luca.
I'm just kidding, Luca. Go ahead.
Good God. Okay. Tudor is not moving. He's got a good team. He's playing well, and he's getting paid well. He ain't moving, people. Get off of it. Go, Tony.
Yeah, he's not coming. Man, I'm still caught up on bringing a manager in mid-season. Sure, I think Tudor would do a better job. He's been on the staff. He knows the club, so that's an important piece too. Someone who knows the club will help out. I still don't think. Actually, I'd like to ask Lucci this one. What? Maybe everybody can answer it. What is the percentage that Allegri leaves this year? Do you think? Because Arriva Bene came out and said he's not leaving. Nedved hasn't had the kiss of death where he says we trust Allegri. Once we hear that, he's out. But Nedved hasn't said that.
We're waiting.
What realistically? I think we need to get into this. What are the chances that Allegri actually leaves before June?
Okay, so I'm going to start off. I thought earlier you said, ex-players doesn't really matter if they become coaches. So you kind of contradicted yourself.
Well,
But
Montero
anyway.
has 2 months experience. So
Yeah, but it's the same thing. It's just an ex-player. How good of a coach is he actually? Do you really know? Have you seen him?
well, Marseille's doing well. He has
The
top flight
French league,
experience.
man.
Verona was good last year.
Yeah,
has
Verona
top
was
flight
good
experience.
for finishing top 12. Anyway. I'll say it's 50-50. The contract is too tight, man. They screwed themselves. They shot themselves in the foot when they offered him such a large contract, and now getting out of it is going to be, unless they're willing to take hits in the transfer market. I don't know if I see it happening. I think it would have happened already.
No,
I agree with that.
I think
Like
100% he is not here by June.
Wow.
Oh, we're talking next season? I thought
He's
we were
talking
this
end of
season.
this
End
season,
of this
which
year.
is June
End of this year.
2023.
Oh no, I think he'll be gone next year.
100% he will not be the coach.
He won't finish this Serie A season.
I do. Okay, I think he'll finish this season.
In my personal belief,
Mhm.
it's
I'm with
too far gone. There is way too much smoke around all this, and I can't see him turning it around.
No, that's fair. I just
that's gone. He signed with Brighton.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Unhappy.
enjoy the rain, you bum.
it is what it is. I want to get to
Ooh.
some of these
rude.
comments. That Marco Tardelli saying that he doesn't agree that players need to go and apologize to fans or anything like that. He says the
agree with
problem, where was it here? He says he's basically kind of trying to free and clear Max of this. He says, I don't think Allegri will be fired again, because there's just everybody else that has to leave with him. He does not agree a team should go and apologize to the fans. In his opinion, it did what it could. The problems are others, starting with the company and the athletic preparation of the team. I don't disagree that there are other problems, but I still think those traveling fans, a lot of those are Curva members, by the way, that don't get to do what they're allowed to do at visiting stadiums at their own home grounds. So I strongly disagree with Tardelli saying that they should not go and acknowledge those fans. Danilo did it before the game, and that was a nice sign and gesture heading into it. These little tokens of gratitude for supporters aren't just nothing. This team, if it continues on, my God, what do you want to do? Do you just want to ignore the supporters, the ones spending hard-earned money to travel with the team and support? No. So I strongly disagree with that. Anybody else?
I wouldn't say I disagree. I just like, you're doing this after every game, but we see no difference on the pitch. So what's the point?
Exactly.
But
I agree,
why
I
is
agree
the
with you.
leader not out there with them? It shouldn't be just the players. If you're going to do it, like, I mean, Max bailed out after the Benfica thing so damn fast. I don't even think he shook anybody's hands from the opposition. Like, stand out there with your guys, continuously go out there and do that. And I get it. Nothing's changing, but it's not all on them.
No,
It isn't
you're right.
all on them. So you kind of feel hard done by that they're the ones that have to keep going there and being the face for it when management is also involved and the coach is also involved. It's tough. It's tough.
Georg is right. Max is just too damn proud and cocky. He knows he's kind of safe. I think that's what it is. That's his attitude is shown that he's not worried because I think he knows he's not going anywhere. Or he's just psycho, one of the two. I don't know.
I think this is the scenario that's been painted here, is that the most likely of options is that Max knows he's untouchable, which is why he's almost been saying so much that he's been saying that isn't typical of himself, is because he probably is untouchable. Like many are talking about this financial thing of not being able to get rid of him. He is talking like a guy who seems safe. He feels safe.
Yep.
And that's a scary reality.
Mm-hmm.
How are things going to get better when, number one, the guy who's supposed to spearhead everything himself feels like there's going to be nothing he's going to be held accountable to? That's a major problem. I hope for all of our sakes that that's not true, that he feels safe. But he might, based on what he's saying, right?
Yeah.
Exactly what it looks like. Even the midweek presser where, and you guys did a great job covering it, where Danilo said one thing and then he said the other thing, and it's just
and that ties into what Marquisio was saying, right?
Yeah.
If you
like,
listen to the
it's
words
not
of Arriva
good.
Bene, then coach and then players, it's all over the place.
It's wild, but you hit the nail on the head. It's a man who's not in fear of his job. He's not.
Yep.
Not one.
Imagine having that job stability.
Mine's pretty good, but not like that.
You're not like that, and you're not making that much money. Hate to tell you, but
you wouldn't be on this podcast if you were making that much
To
money.
give you Marquisio's actual
Slum it
statements
with
here,
you guys.
Marquisio's actual words. The problem is not Juve losing. You can lose, but when you lose to Monza without shooting, that's a problem. There is disconnection between the team, coach, and company, you could see from the statements. With an important squad, even with 10 men, you play. This Juve cannot play. It is worrying. Vlahovic hasn't grown since he arrived. Now I'm not inside Juve. I hope they solve the problem between them.
Two.
The championship is made up of 2 parts. I would not like to wait for the break to change coach. It's a very delicate situation. Juve mistakes, ? Allegri is back in a moment after COVID. So many costs. He arrives with an onerous a contract that binds you. Choices made over the years, one mistake after another, and now you see this. Since the beginning of the year, the team has not been growing.
Mm-hmm.
It just comes down to the point. I stand with Claudio Marchisio here.
We
I
have
want to say Bruno Scanga has said that
Oh.
22-23 Scudetto and Europa League champs after
Man.
Juve gets bounced from the Champions League.
that's going to happen.
Every time, and he adds, book it.
Yeah.
Every
dangerous.
time a
Dangerous
Scanga
words.
says book it, this feeling comes over me.
Okay.
We're doomed.
It's this unexplainable feeling of nausea is number one, but it's just, come on.
Yeah. It's scary.
Anyways, we'll see what happens, but it's a messy situation. This break, does this break come at a right time, or is it worse to not be able to get into action until now? What, October 1st or 2nd, somewhere around there?
Second.
Sunday.
70% of our players are not going to be able to train with the team or as a team anyways.
Probably a good thing.
Probably a good thing, you're thinking?
Yeah,
Get some
go get some
confidence
real
up.
training.
Yeah, until they come back.
Man, are our players even going to be used in those national? Like, none of them are in form.
Vlahovic, no?
Vlahovic, man, their other players
No,
are
that team is
firing on all cylinders right now. I don't even know if Serbia is gonna. I mean, they'll probably play them but man, the other guys are actually like working well. Tadic, Mitrovic, they're playing well.
Yeah.
Rabiot, like, I don't know, Camavinga is
Rabiot's
playing
still
great.
hurt, yeah.
Chouameni's
though.
playing great. Like,
Still hurts.
The
I
only
don't
good thing
see
is that-
these guys even being able to boost confidence going there. Nobody's informed. Rabiot's obviously still trying to get over it, but I don't know.
We'll get some injured players back at least by the time they return.
What I don't necessarily understand, and this is where I'm getting most anger from the club right now.
Get angry.
It's one thing if we don't make any moves. I get it, to move Allegri. There's probably financial reasons, but what is there stopping us from replacing other people of the staff? You know, like the medical staff has been rumored to be changed so many times in the last 2 years, but no movement has been made on that end. No reviews. No. Not even an idea of change. Like, it's just been rumors. Nothing has moved. So I don't understand
Somebody
why.
got thrown under the bus today.
Oh yeah.
Somebody from the staff got thrown under the bus today. Who
Well,
they
no
blame?
shit. Like,
The conditioning coach. It was on our own news report. It was
Here, I'll
on
pull it
there.
up.
if
Keep
you-
going,
if you-
Luca.
if you don't want to toss the head of, let's say, your organization into the mud, someone else is going to get tossed. You know, like, shit runs downstream,
Yeah.
and it's going to have to be someone else to take the blame. But nobody is. It's all the same staff. Damn, the janitor's still there. Like, I don't understand. Make one change at least.
Whoa,
Nothing's
he's doing
changed.
his job. All
We
right.
don't know that. Clearly, we don't know what's happening.
Have you seen
because-
that place? You can eat off the floors in there. So watch out.
I don't know.
The
Ant.
one
I
thing
can't
that-
find
At your
it.
house, but okay.
Okay. Go ahead, Al.
I,
The one thing that really scares me is November. Have you seen the schedule in November?
It's only getting tougher, man. We played
Well,
first of all-
3 of the worst teams already.
First of all, we have 1,
Yeah,
2,
we're-
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games in October. That's a nightmare. And then November is PSG, home to PSG, home to Inter, at Verona, and then home to Lazio.
So listen here.
Hey.
This is another thing we talked about yesterday,
Ooh.
Lucci and I, because Udinese was pistol whipping Merda,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a manager that stepped in that's got a team. Are they as talented as Juve? Absolutely not. Do they play as a united front? Absolutely.
They would
And it
smack
makes
us
a
right
difference, and they work their ass off.
Like,
That's getting teams by much further than relying on talent. Sammy's saying for the management, this break is good to look for options to get instead of this clown, rather than make a decision at the heat of the moment. That's actually pretty solid, because they can weigh everything out and really hone in. So Deal, the one leading Udinese, is being called on by Juventini. For me, it's way too soon.
It's
way
too
too
soon.
soon. Let him do his thing.
Yeah.
Let him go there and whatnot. It
So
sucks
I
when
did
you're in
find
the
it.
middle of a season and you're literally talking about getting rid of the guy that's at the helm. But honestly, those bad feelings, these bleeding hearts of, oh, how are we talking this way? You know, you got to support the team. They need it the most. Listen, we're not taking support away from the team. We're not going anywhere. But
We're
at
here,
the
aren't
same
we?
time, if you're staring at this
Can hear
and
now.
you are a Juventino, there's no way you could see that something is definitely broken. Our own Claudio Marchisio, who's probably, man, if there's a Juventino, he says it's time for change. It is time for change, everybody. It is time for change. This cannot continue. There's no
Well, the
way.
one thing we did report this morning, and this is from Romeo Agresti. In recent days, Juventus has made the figure of Andreini head of performance responsible. Donadoni's ex-trainer has more powers in terms of overseeing the different areas of company's performance, strength and conditioning analysis, etc. So there's your scapegoat.
That's it. But it's talk of being,
That is one of the problems, though, Luca.
Yeah, but act on it. Like Arrivabene is such a business-oriented guy. If you see a specific part of your business is not doing well, cut it out, replace it. I don't understand why we're being all emotional and hesitant now. When it was players, they didn't hesitate. They cut ties, got rid of them. Now, when it's staff that really are being paid probably minimal compared to our players and clearly having an effect on this team, we're being all hesitant and mushy because these guys have been here for a while.
But
why?
Doesn't Max oversee all the training and conditioning and stuff? Like, does he not have a report or some kind of overseeing of this? Like, he's got to know.
Good question.
He's the damn coach. He's supposed to know everything. Like, whether he's fully involved, he should have some kind of idea of what's happening. If he thinks it's a problem, nip that right in the butt.
He sounds like they're going to, though. That's what I'm saying. It sounds like they've identified the issue and they're
bring it up now? Just do it.
Yeah,
do it.
Yeah,
do it.
Do it. Take it easy there. Oh, you guys, it's this is the messy situation. We go into the break, absolute shambles. Yesterday was a great opportunity in a match that had to be a win, should have been a win, for us to make that ground based on the other results in Serie A, and we fall flat on our face again. Mm-hmm. How much longer can this go on? Tensions were already at an all-time high between Pavel and Max. Pavel again leading the anti-Max brigade. It's a mess.
He watched the whole game. He sat there.
Probably because they told him, you better stay the full thing because everyone's noticing.
Clean that up. You have to clean that up. You can't have an organization where your coach already has somebody in the upper brass that didn't want him to even come back in the first place, was behind him getting fired in 2018-19. A bloodbath might have to actually happen, to be honest.
Like the red.
Whether you want to do that mid-season, that's...
But I don't even know what that means. Because Agnelli's not going anywhere. Arrivabene's not going anywhere. Cherubini's not going anywhere.
It's not Arrivabene and Cherubini. They're out of this because they're in too fresh. You can't have both Max and Nedved in there. So make up your mind. If you're going to stick with Max further, get Nedved out of there then, because all it's going to do is create more heat. You can't have Nedved ripping down into the locker room, although I agree with it and everybody should have done that. You can't have him doing that and undermining the coach that's supposed to be spearheading this thing and leading the players, because it technically undermines him if he's ripping into the locker room. You could take him aside and have words with him in the office, but you shouldn't be doing that in the locker room. Although I do love Pavel and always will. You're creating this toxic environment, and the environment is completely toxic. So when they brought Max back, it should have been, sorry, Nedved, but we're going against you. I've lost faith in what you're doing. If now you want to move Max, then you're agreeing Nedved was right. Nedved, you stay. As far as Agnelli goes, stay the hell away from the footballing side of things. Stick to the business. And if it's not Nedved that you want running the football matters, find somebody else that you do want. But bloodbath in terms of making the changes that make sense. Stop creating toxicity ourselves. Management created the toxicity that's boiling over right now on their own.
Everyone wants to dump on Agnelli, and everyone deserves to be dumped on. Let's just face it. But Cherubini and Arriva Bene are essentially the footballing side of it. Okay, Agnelli was responsible for bringing Allegri back. He has to sign off on that.
He did Pirlo and then Allegri.
But what else like today is Agnelli signing off on? Like players, they're brought to him. Like everything's sort of, he's not saying, go get me this player. That's coming from Cherubini, Allegri, right? Like he's not making those decisions. Everyone makes it sound like Agnelli's making all the player decisions, which he's not. He's just signing off on them. Like this is where I'm getting confused. Really it's coming down to Max and Nedved. That's a great point. Like those, I fully agree with everything you said there. I get that. But Agnelli, like maybe someone convinced me how he's doing a bad job. Go ahead.
Well, he brought in Max.
I don't really see.
No, he created that whole toxicity we're
because
in
he created
now.
that. Then
he's created that.
Yeah.
Which is boiling over into the locker room, which is creating a nightmare.
Okay, this is not going to happen.
Look, I'm with Ant. This is not going to happen. We've just now rescheduled, like we've restructured our entire organization. Agnelli's not going to move.
I didn't say kick Agnelli out, though.
No, we're not saying that. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
I said he needs to stop intervening and creating Pirlo out, Max back in, Nedved, you stay, even though you wanted this guy out. You guys hate each other. This is cool. It's going to be happy times. No. He made that mess. He needs to stand behind the guys he's got hired to make those calls, or otherwise they should have been gone and he should have moved somebody else in. So he's got a major part in this gong show that's going on right now, as far as the brass and the management.
A gong show.
Fair enough. But he's not going anywhere.
No, he won't.
Storm the barn.
He won't. Everybody, look, I think this break came at a great time for supporters, to be honest.
For us too. We need a break.
We need it. Yeah. I can only drink so much on weekends.
It's just like you don't believe that it could get worse, and it goes from bad to just worse. And there's no... Where's the what are we looking forward to? Apparently, like our coach is telling us, it's gonna get better when these guys get back. Di Maria comes in there, puts in a stinker right before getting a straight red,
and he might get suspended for 3 games. Yeah,
he's gonna be gone for 3 games. Fantastic. It's getting worse before it's getting better.
Milan.
I hope they take the time to really, really analyze and figure it all out, and we'll see what happens. But this is troubling times. I've said this. I want to get everybody's thoughts right now as far as Juve goes, but I'm getting a lot of messages. I'm getting a lot of WhatsApp messages. I'm getting a lot of DMs on Twitter, ton of stuff in the update videos about lack of support. Hard to watch this Juve. And certain fans getting, not necessarily attacked, but others saying, well, you're not a true supporter and stuff like that. I hate hearing things like that because, to be honest with you, some of you, from what I see in reactions and stuff, like I get pissed right off about the games. The nice thing about myself after the match is over, I've got 2 young girls. I got a wife. Like we go have family time. And honestly, it's so far from my mind when I'm with my family that I don't even care. Okay. That's the nice thing.
So cute.
But I do care. I do care. But the thing is, if it's upsetting you that much, I can understand why some would remove themselves from watching it. Because if you're getting that fired up where it's ruining your weekends, it's ruining your times, you need to. And I told my dad yesterday, after that game, I said, I think you should see your doctor, and I think he'll probably tell you to stop watching Juve. Because I don't want to hear about you croaking while watching one of these games because your ticker just friggin' explodes. Yeah, so it might be best for some to take a little bit of a breather. But I will say this, of all my years of watching Juve, even after the actual banter era of 2006 and forward, I have never felt almost as disconnected with a team as I am this current Juve side, because it's very, very hard to connect with this squad because there's nothing there. They're so soulless. It's hard to connect with certain individuals on the team as far as players. It's hard to do any of that because they're so broken, and everything that we've come to know and love about our Juve it's not shining through. And it's all this negativity and it's all this smoke, and a lot of it is self-created by the club themselves. It's very, very hard to connect right now with this team. So I very, very much understand all those frustrations out there. For me, I feel the same. I'm very, very disconnected, but I'm not going anywhere. I'll still watch all the games. I'll still support and drive myself crazy if I have to, but I can understand the massive disconnect. Do any of you feel the same way as far as a disconnect? Has it ever been to this point, in your opinion, with Juve? And Ant can speak to very close to, as far as me, for timeline. He could go a little bit further, though. I just want to point that out. So, Ant, have you ever been this disconnected, or is it just me? Are you still as connected?
Well, some people will point to the 2006, but that was different. Like, we felt that, we were hard done by. We were put there. It wasn't really anything the players did. It's not like the players played poorly. It was all that whole situation. But back then, it's different now. People let Twitter work them up, or social media. They read something that somebody posted, or someone changes their avatar to a Monza and then changes it to Bologna. That really gets them worked up, right? You do something, and people get worked up at that stuff, but it's not real. See, I grew up in an era where people would banter to your face.
Before Christ?
So you had to be careful who you banter to, because they'll smack you in the mouth. So it was a different banter era when I grew up. No, I'm not saying anybody in particular. I'm just saying, we didn't have social media, so you couldn't really. It was a different sort of banter. Like, it was kind of more fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, if it's getting to you that much, just turn it off. Like, really, you have to turn it off, because it shouldn't ruin your day. You shouldn't lose sleep over it, and you shouldn't get heart problems over it. But I'm not saying be any less of a supporter. It's just, don't let it, do that to you.
Yeah. Lucci, are you feeling like that disconnect?
I'm good. Just swear it out.
I'm good.
But Lucci,
so you're
works
as
out.
connected to this Juve side as you've ever been.
Is it harder to watch? Absolutely. Am I going to stop watching? No, I'm still going to watch. I'm going to take my 2 hours every Saturday or Sunday, watch, have my coffee, enjoy. If hey, they played bad yesterday, I just lift heavier. Just go to do some exercise, or
it's a good way to do it.
Have a companion of some sort, and
easy.
What?
Where are you going with that?
He's talking about the gym. Have like a spotter. That's what he's talking about.
That's exactly what I was talking about.
Luca, is 2023 going to bring us the joyous moments once Pogba, Chiesa return?
Pogba's on this team?
This is the shit that pisses me off. When people do things like that.
You hear that, Dan? He's pissed at you.
That's okay. We'll get over
I know where he lives, so.
John Stewart, bless your heart for trying to bring some positivity.
John,
sorry for Lucci, who just tries to shit on it. You're out.
Hey, it wasn't me for once.
Luca,
yo,
2023 going to bring us some joy? Pogba, Chiesa?
I think so.
I don't know. Will Max still
be
here?
Positive, man. I'm with John.
Yeah, I think it would. Look, I'm trying to look at this a different way. Like, if this was any other coach, how would they handle the amount of injuries we have? Like Monza, yes, granted, we should beat them with our C team, and that's not excusable. Sampdoria, Salernitana is the same thing. The games against like PSG and Benfica, those are tough teams. I'm not going to start saying I'm defending Max, but these are games that, even with all the injuries he had, is a tough situation. So
we haven't even played Milan or Napoli.
No, I know. Again, guys, I'm not trying to say like Max should be sticking around. I still think he's done and dusted, but this is a difficult situation. Like, this would have been difficult for any other coach, and I think there's still a core issue. Even if we bring in a new coach, if that training staff and medical staff is still the same, it's going to be the same problem year in, year out. I mean, it's been 2-3 years now. We're looking at the same issues fundamentally.
But like injuries and suspensions, we've talked about this before. It's part of the game. A good coach will still get the best out of their
Yes,
team
I agree.
and
I
make
agree.
adjustments regardless of what they have at their disposal. We see it with Udinese. We've seen it with Milan, who's missed Zlatan forever. Like Napoli lost how many of their top Koulibaly, Insigne, whatever.
Very good example.
We're making so many excuses.
No, I agree. I agree. I'm running out of excuses. I really am. Like,
that's it, man. That
bothers me the most. Lucci kind of hit it nail on the head.
Reasons
there.
versus excuses.
It's one thing after another, after another, after another. You know what? Like Luca said earlier, if it's a problem, fix it.
Yeah, honestly,
fix it. Fix it. You know what? Bottom line, they got a lot of fixing to do. So we'll see if over the break any changes come. Most of us aren't banking on anything to take place. BAT97, good for you guys. I'm getting so much stress by watching this horror show. Hey,
is he talking about us or the games?
Yeah, we're not.
No, the games and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Listen, if it's just don't let shit that's out of your control,
kicking people
get to you that much, right? Obviously, we all want to see Juve thriving, succeeding, doing its best. But at the end of the day, hey, we could sit here, we can analyze, we can do everything we want to do. And we run the show. I run the show out of passion, and whatnot, and love for the club. It ain't going anywhere. We ain't stopping. But, the frustrations and everything like this, honestly, I think if I didn't have this pod and we didn't do this, it would be a lot worse. At least we can come out here, vent, say everything we have to, and get it done. Anthony out. Hey.
Look what I started.
No arguments from Luca and Lucci, it looks like. Anthony out here.
No, he agreed with me, so I guess I got to keep him.
Yeah, everybody try and
never again.
Try and keep as chill as we possibly can and see what develops, what happens. One thing's for sure, whether we have our doubts, whether we have anything, nothing ever changes. Game day comes upon us, and it's fino alla fine till the very end, and hope that we get the results going. One thing's for sure, they've got to turn it around, and they have to start very, very quickly. I say 100% Max is gone by the end of June. I say 50% before the World Cup break or at World Cup break. It's 50-50 in that time. Something's going to have to give if things don't get better. And right now, so much is going wrong that it's a hell of a hole for them to climb out of. And I don't know if they're going to do it. Everybody, today, you guys have been awesome. I'll just remind you, if you can please hit that like button one more time before we sign off here. That would be massive. You guys continue to be unreal. Yesterday, I think we reached 190 something on the watch along. It was deadly. And I thank you all. We'll get through this together one way or another, and brighter days to come. We just don't know when, but Juve will be back for sure. Let's just hope it's sooner rather than later.
Yeah, it's pouring
today.
Not today.
Next time, okay? And again, thank you very much, everybody. Andrew and all serious, thank you guys. Truly make it easier to deal with. Hey, anything we do, we're not going anywhere. We're just going to keep praying that they sort it out, okay? Till next time, fino alla fine, Forza Juve. I'll keep you in touch with all the daily updates, and maybe we'll do something for the Azzurri game. We'll see. But ciao tutti. Take care. All right.